The Perfect Pitch Playbooks Game Planner. Game Planner, if you're into sports, is you're about to have a tough opponent, let's say next Saturday, and you're planning all your team's strategy, your practice, and you're anticipating what moves you're going to see. That's essentially what the Game Planner is for business. And here's the form, and we're going to go through the various sections of this form because each section was there for a purpose. They're important. The first is audience. Identify who is the audience and what are their characteristics? What are their demographics? What is their background? What are their hot buttons? What are things they can't stand? Just learn about the audience so that you can anticipate what is most effective and to avoid any pitfalls that might be ahead of you. The second group, how much time do you have? Is it a 5-minute pitch? Is it a 15-minute pitch? Is it a 1-hour pitch? In time, the time stretches from an early interaction to pick the interest, going into a further discussion, which gets into more serious consideration, into investment possibilities, right? So we'll see that the audience may be the same from time to time to time, but the amount of time will vary because of the seriousness and the prior discussions that have already taken place. Next is, what are the objectives? What are you trying to get from this meeting? And this is an important thing to know. Are you trying to get a check for $1 million? Are you getting someone to join your company as the CTO? What are the objectives of this particular meeting or presentation? Next is, what's in it for them? And that's probably the most important thing of the factors, because if you don't know why the other person you're talking to has any interest or will get any value from what you're saying, then you're going to fail. You need to know, how do you make it relevant and desirable for the other person to listen and to move toward the action you're seeking. So what's in it for them? If they're venture capitalists, they're looking for promising companies that they can invest in, help grow, and eventually make a lot of money, either through an exit like an acquisition by a larger company or an IPO. What's in it for them is an essential part of your planning. Again, this helps you with the stakeholders. What you would tell to an investor is something quite different than you would tell to a supplier. The supplier just wants to sell you things and make sure you can pay them, right? That's a very different thing than an investor who is in there for the long haul to see you grow and therefore see the investment in your company grow. And next is, what is the story? The story is a lead in to what is the flow of what you're going to describe so that you can carry the audience along with you for that journey, so that at the very end, they're with you in terms of what you're conveying and they're convinced. So that's what we're looking at. The final step in the bottom right-hand corner is the ask. What is the ask? In most meetings, particularly early meetings, the ask is simply to have another meeting, and that's okay. It's kind of foolish and naive to think that you get funded based on a brief elevator pitch. But it's not unreasonable to think that a goal would be to have enough interest in that conversation such that you're invited to have a more thorough discussion about your company, your product, or your service. Hopefully you see how using this planner could be used like a Swiss Army knife that helps you prepare for any of the 5 pitch scenarios that we saw earlier. A high concept pitch, what is the key message to convey? Get in, get out with a message. A tagline, it's very similar to what the pitch would have in terms of the thought process. The bar pitch, brief conversation. The elevator pitch, a longer conversation. And investment presentation, one that allows you the time to give a thorough, even though brief, conversation about your product, your service, and your company. That concludes the game plan.